Some people are broke, and some people need to be broke. Not because they're lazy, not because they gave up, because broke has become the most stable thing in their life. The one identity that never left. The one story that always made sense. Take it away, and who are they? They don't know. And that unknown is more terrifying than any empty bank account. So they don't try to escape it. They defend it. They find philosophy. They find community. They find every reason the people above them are villains and every reason the system is rigged. And maybe the system is rigged, but that's not why they're defending it. They're defending it because the alternative, actually changing, means destroying a version of themselves they've spent years building. And the human brain doesn't do that quietly. Here's what nobody tells you about being broke long term. It stops being a financial condition. It becomes a personality. Slowly, quietly, without you ever deciding it. One day you're struggling with money. The next, you are someone who struggles with money. And once something becomes who you are, you stop trying to fix it. You start protecting it. Not consciously. You'd never admit that. Most people never even see it happening. But watch the behavior closely. Watch what happens when someone broke gets real advice. Not sympathy, advice. They don't lean in. They push back. It's not that easy. You don't understand my situation. Not everyone can just do that. Every sentence sounds reasonable, but every sentence is doing the same job, keeping the story intact, keeping them intact. Because here's the truth they're running from. If change was possible all along, what does that say about every year they didn't change? That question is unbearable. So the brain never asks it. It argues instead. Marcus never thought of himself as someone who was afraid. He worked hard. He showed up. He did everything he was supposed to do. But nothing moved. And after enough years of nothing moving, he stopped asking why. Because asking why is dangerous. Asking why means the answer might point back at you. So instead, Marcus got good at explaining. He got good at telling people why the successful ones got lucky. Why his city had no real opportunities. Why the guys making money were cutting corners, lying, stepping on people. He wasn't wrong about some of it, but he was using truth as a hiding place. There was a moment, one specific moment, that revealed everything. A friend of his, same neighborhood, same starting point, same broken school system, started a small business. Nothing glamorous. Pressure washing driveways. Within 8 months, he was clearing more than Marcus made in a year. Marcus's response: he got lucky with his clients. That kind of work destroys your body. I'm not about to beg people to let me clean their driveway. 3 sentences. 3 different defenses. Like they were already prepared. Like some part of him had been waiting for exactly this moment and had the answers ready before the threat even fully arrived. Have you ever noticed this in your own life? Someone close to you moves forward, and instead of curiosity, your first feeling is resistance? Not anger exactly. Something quieter. Something that sounds like logic, but feels like fear. That's not jealousy. That's your identity defending its borders. Marcus didn't hate his friend. He was terrified of what his friend's success meant. Because if someone from the same place, with the same disadvantages, with the same odds, could change his situation, then the story Marcus had been telling for years wasn't protection anymore. It was just a story, and Marcus had built his entire personality on top of it. This isn't the part where everything gets fixed. There's no 5-step plan here. No morning routine. No vision board. No advice you haven't already heard and ignored. Because the problem was never information. You already knew most of this. Some part of you knew it before you clicked on this video. The problem is deeper than knowledge. And the shift has to be deeper too. It starts with one distinction. One separation that most people never make. The difference between where you are and who you are. Right now, for most people in this pattern, those two things are fused together completely. Your financial state and your identity are the same object, which means attacking one feels like attacking the other, which means changing one feels like destroying the other. And nobody willingly destroys themselves. So the first move is an action. It's separation. Sit with this. Your bank account is not your character. Your history is not your ceiling. The conditions you were born into are not a verdict on what you're capable of. They're just conditions. Temporary. External. Separate from you. This sounds simple. It isn't. Because you've been told, directly and indirectly, your entire life that people like you end up in places like this. And some part of you believed it. Not because you're weak. Because you were young. And it came from everywhere. And there was nothing pushing back against it. But here's what's true now. The belief was installed without your consent. That means you have the right to uninstall it. Not by pretending the past didn't happen. Not by performing confidence you don't feel yet. But by starting to notice, just notice, every time the old pattern activates. Every time an opportunity arrives and something in you immediately finds the flaw. Every time someone moves forward and your first feeling is resistance instead of curiosity. Every time you open your mouth to explain why something won't work before you've given it a real chance. Don't fight it yet. Just see it. Name it. That's the pattern. That's the kid, not me. Because here's what happens when you start seeing it clearly. The mechanism loses power. Not all at once. But the moment you can observe a pattern, you are no longer fully inside it. You're watching it. And you cannot watch something and be completely controlled by it at the same time. That gap, that small, quiet space between the trigger and the response. That's where everything changes. Not in a motivational seminar. Not in a viral quote. In that gap, Marcus never needed someone to believe in him. He needed to stop being the first person to not believe in himself. That's it. That's the whole shift. Not confidence. Not certainty. Just stopping the automatic betrayal. Long enough to actually look at what's in front of him. Long enough to ask, is this really impossible? Or does it just feel that way because of something that happened a long time ago? Most people never ask that question. Not because they can't. Because the pattern moves too fast. And nobody ever showed them the pattern existed. Now you've seen it. Here's what's actually happening inside Marcus's brain. And inside the brain of every person who defends a situation they claim to hate. It's not weakness. It's not stupidity. It's something far more automatic than either of those. Psychologists have a name for it. Cognitive dissonance. It sounds complicated. It isn't. It means this. When reality contradicts the story you believe about yourself, your brain doesn't update the story. It attacks the reality. Because updating the story is expensive. It means admitting you were wrong. It means grieving years of decisions. It means rebuilding an identity from scratch. The brain won't do that willingly. So instead, it protects. It finds evidence that confirms the old story. It dismisses evidence that doesn't. And it does all of this so fast, so smoothly, that the person never even feels it happening. They just feel certain. Certain that the system is the problem. Certain that the timing isn't right. Certain that people like them don't get those kinds of opportunities. But there's a second layer, deeper than cognitive dissonance, deeper than just protecting beliefs. It's called identity protective cognition. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Your brain doesn't just protect what you think. It protects who you think you are. And if who you think you are is someone that money doesn't come to, then every opportunity that arrives gets quietly filtered out. Not ignored on purpose. Filtered. Automatically. Below conscious thought. The job posting that feels like it's not for someone like me. The business idea that gets killed before it's ever spoken out loud. The mentor offering help, and something in you finding a reason not to trust them. None of it feels like self-sabotage. All of it is. This is why motivation doesn't work on people in this pattern. You can't inspire someone out of an identity. Inspiration hits the surface. Identity lives underneath. You can pump someone up on a Monday. By Wednesday, they're back to exactly who they believed they were before you said a word. Because the belief didn't change. And here's the part that makes this pattern so hard to break. The people around Marcus, his family, his closest friends, they're in the same pattern. And they reinforce it. Constantly. Not with cruelty. With familiarity. You're too good for that corporate stuff anyway. Those rich people aren't happy. Trust me. Stay humble. Stay real. Every sentence sounds like love. Every sentence is quietly pulling him back to the same place. Because if Marcus changes, if Marcus actually escapes, then what does that mean for everyone who stayed? His success would be their mirror. And nobody wants to look into that. So the community holds the pattern together. Not on purpose, just by existing. Here's where most people get this wrong. They hear everything so far, and they think the conclusion is simple. Broke people are their own problem. Fix your mindset. Stop making excuses. That's not what this is. That's the surface reading. And the surface reading misses the most important part. This defense mechanism, the one Marcus built, the one millions of people are running right now without knowing it. It wasn't born from laziness. It was born from pain. Go back far enough in Marcus's life. Go back to the apartment where the lights got cut off and nobody explained why. Go back to the school where the teachers expected nothing from kids like him. Go back to the first time he wanted something, really wanted something, and watched it stay completely out of reach no matter how hard he tried. At some point, a young brain makes a quiet decision. Not in words, not consciously, just a shift. If I stop wanting it, it can't hurt me that it's gone. If money is evil, then not having it makes me good. If rich people are villains, then staying poor makes me the hero of my own story. That's not delusion. That's survival. A child's brain protecting itself the only way it knows how. Rewriting the meaning of the situation so the situation doesn't destroy them. It worked. It genuinely worked. It got Marcus through years of instability without completely breaking. But here's the twist. Marcus is not a child anymore. The apartment with the cut lights is 20 years behind him. The teachers who expected nothing, gone. The helplessness that created the pattern, no longer real. But the pattern? Still running. Full speed. In a completely different life. The software installed in a crisis never got uninstalled. And now it's not protecting him from pain. It's producing it. Every defense, every dismissal, every perfectly logical reason why change isn't possible. That's not wisdom. That's a scared kid still making decisions for a grown man. And the cruelest part? The mechanism is invisible to the person running it. Marcus doesn't feel like he's protecting old wounds. He feels like he's being realistic. He feels like he's the one person smart enough to see through the lie that anyone can make it. His defense doesn't feel like fear. It feels like clarity. That's how well it works. That's how completely it hides itself. The people who escape this pattern aren't tougher than Marcus. They're not smarter. They just, somehow, at some point, caught a glimpse behind the curtain. They saw the mechanism for what it was. Not a belief, not a value, a wound, still open, still running the show. And the moment you see it, really see it, it loses its grip. Not completely, not immediately, but enough. Everything so far has been explanation. This part is different. This part is the thing most people spend their entire lives carefully avoiding. The system is real. Inequality is real. Generational disadvantage is real. Nobody is arguing otherwise. But here's what's also real. You have watched people escape the same system you're using as a reason to stay. Not celebrities, not lottery winners. People you know personally. Same zip code, same school, same broken start. And they moved, not because they got lucky, because at some point they stopped treating their history as a life sentence. You saw it happen, and it made you uncomfortable in a way you never fully examined. Because here's the hard truth. The one that sits underneath all the philosophy and all the very reasonable sounding explanations. You are not defending a situation. You are defending a decision. The quiet decision, made years ago, probably without words, to stop believing change was possible for someone like you. That decision felt like protection then. Now it feels like wisdom. But it's neither. It's just old. And every year you defend it. Every time you explain why someone else's success doesn't apply to you. Every time you find the flaw in the opportunity before you've even looked at it closely. You're not being realistic. You're being loyal. Loyal to a version of yourself that was built in pain. Loyal to a story that was written by a kid with no options. You have options now, but you're still letting that kid make the calls. Here's what nobody says because it's too uncomfortable to say. Some people stay broke because the world failed them. And some people stay broke because staying broke is the last form of control they have. If you never try, you never fail. If you never commit, you never lose. If you keep the ceiling low enough, nothing can disappoint you. That's not peace. That's a managed, carefully maintained hopelessness dressed up as humility. And the community around you, the ones who call ambition greed, who call hunger desperation, who make you feel guilty every time something in you wants more. They're not protecting you. They're protecting themselves from the mirror you'd become if you left. You're not broke because the world is against you. Some of it is, but you've been against yourself longer. And you've been quieter about that part. Nobody chooses to stay stuck. That's the part that makes this so tragic. Marcus didn't wake up one day and decide to defend a life he didn't want. He just never saw the walls clearly enough to know they were there. And that's most people. Not failing because they're weak. Failing because they're loyal. Loyal to a story written in their worst moments. Loyal to a version of themselves that was built for survival, not for living. The broke person arguing with you online isn't stupid. The family member dismissing every idea you bring home isn't your enemy. The friend who calls ambition greed isn't trying to destroy you. They're all just running the same program, protecting the same wound, wearing the same invisible cage, and calling it wisdom. And maybe you recognize something in this video. Not in Marcus, in yourself. A moment where you pushed something away before you understood why. A pattern you felt but never had words for. A ceiling you've been maintaining. Quietly, carefully, without ever admitting it was you holding it there. That recognition, don't ignore it. Don't explain it away. Don't let the pattern do what it always does. Rush in with a perfectly reasonable argument for why none of this applies to you. Sit with the discomfort, because that discomfort is not a warning. It's a signal. It means something real just got close enough to touch. The money was never really the problem. It was just the symptom everyone stared at, while the actual disease ran untouched, unnamed, protected, passed down like an inheritance nobody asked for. You can't fix what you refuse to see, and you can't see what you've spent years learning to defend. But you're seeing it now, and that, even if it's uncomfortable, even if everything in you wants to close the tab and forget this, that is where it starts. Not with a plan, not with motivation, with a single, honest moment of recognition. The cage was never locked. You just never questioned who gave you the key.